In the year 1800, America was a nobody. A young, fragile country with no army worth fearing, no factories worth mentioning, and a population smaller than France's single largest city region. Fast forward 200 years, and this same country controls a quarter of the entire world's wealth. One nation. 25% of everything. How does that happen? This is not a story of luck. This is a story of decisions, wars, betrayals, genius, and a little bit of ruthlessness. Stay till the end, because reason number 7 will completely change how you see the US dollar in your own pocket. Every year, economists ask the same question. Why America? Why not China, with its ancient civilization? Why not India, with its billion-plus population? Why not Europe, the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution? The answer isn't simple, but it's fascinating. And it starts nearly 400 years ago, on a ship, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Reason number 1. Geography. America is blessed with something almost no other country has. A massive, connected landmass filled with fertile soil, navigable rivers, and natural harbors on both coasts. The Mississippi River alone acts like a free highway, moving goods cheaply across the entire heartland. Compare that to landlocked or mountainous nations that spend fortunes just moving a bag of wheat. Here's something most people never think about. America is protected by 2 oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific. While Europe fought endless wars on shared borders, and Asia dealt with constant invasions, America sat safely behind water. No hostile army could simply march in. This geographic isolation meant less money spent on defense at home, and more money spent on building. Reason number 2. People. Not just any people. The boldest, most desperate, most ambitious people on the planet. Millions of Europeans, Asians, and others crossed oceans, risking everything for a chance at a new life. Immigration wasn't a side effect of America's success. It was the engine of it. While other nations lost their best minds to war and poverty, America collected them. Einstein fled Germany. Tesla arrived from Serbia. Generations later, engineers from India and China would build Silicon Valley. This wasn't charity. It was the smartest wealth strategy in human history, importing genius for free. Reason number 3. Rules that protect property. In 1787, America wrote something radical into its constitution, the guarantee that if you build something, it's yours. No king could seize it. No noble could take it. This single idea gave ordinary people a reason to work harder, invent more, and take risks nobody else in the world dared to take. By the mid-1800s, America was no longer just a farming nation. Steam engines roared to life. Railroads stretched from coast to coast. Steel mills turned raw or into the bones of a new civilization. The Industrial Revolution didn't just visit America. It made America its permanent home. In 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad connected the entire country for the first time. What used to take 6 months by wagon now took 6 days by train. Goods, people, and ideas could move faster than anywhere else on Earth. Distance, once America's biggest enemy, became its greatest advantage. Reason number 4. Ruthless ambition. Men like John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and J.P. Morgan built empires in oil, steel, and banking. History calls them robber barons for a reason. Their tactics were brutal. But their factories, railroads, and banks became the skeleton of the American economy that still stands today. Then came a twist of fate nobody planned. In 1914, World War I broke out, and it devastated Europe. Factories were bombed. Farmlands became battlefields. Millions of workers became soldiers. But across the ocean, America's factories kept running, selling weapons, food, and supplies to a bleeding continent. While Europe burned, America got rich. European nations paid for American goods in gold. Tons of it. By the end of World War I, America held more gold reserves than any country in history up to that point. The world's wealth was physically moving across the Atlantic, and it wasn't going back. The 1920s exploded with prosperity. Cars, radios, electricity, and skyscrapers transformed daily life. Wall Street became the beating heart of global finance. For a decade, it seemed like nothing could stop America's rise. But greed has consequences. In 1929, the stock market collapsed, wiping out fortunes overnight. The Great Depression brought America to its knees. Yet even in collapse, something important happened. America learned how to regulate its own financial system, building the guardrails that would protect its economy for the next century. History repeated itself in the most brutal way. World War II destroyed Germany, Japan, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. Cities were reduced to rubble. But America's mainland was untouched by bombs. Once again, its factories became the arsenal of democracy, supplying tanks, planes, and ships to the entire Allied world. By 1945, Europe and Asia were in ruins. But America's industrial base was not just intact, it was stronger than ever. It produced nearly half of the entire world's manufacturing output. There was simply no competition left. America wasn't just winning. It was playing a different game entirely. Reason number 5, and possibly the most powerful one. In 1944, world leaders met in a small town called Bretton Woods. They agreed that the US dollar, backed by American gold, would become the world's reserve currency. Every nation would need dollars to trade globally. This wasn't just an economic decision. It was America handing itself the keys to the entire global financial system. Decades later, America struck another masterstroke. In the 1970s, it made a deal with Saudi Arabia. Oil would be sold globally only in US dollars. This created the petrodollar system. Every country on Earth, whether they liked it or not, needed dollars just to buy oil. Demand for the dollar became permanent, unstoppable, and endless. After World War II, America launched the Marshall Plan, pouring billions into rebuilding Europe. It looked like generosity, but it was also strategy. A rebuilt Europe meant new customers for American goods, new allies against communism, and a world economy rebuilt with America firmly at the center. Reason number 6. America turned innovation into a national religion. The light bulb, the telephone, the airplane, the personal computer, the internet, the smartphone, an extraordinary number of world-changing inventions trace back to American soil. Universities, private investment, and a culture that celebrates risk-taking created the perfect breeding ground for genius. In the second half of the 20th century, a quiet valley in California became the most valuable strip of land on the planet. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and Nvidia were all born here. Today, American tech companies alone are worth more than the entire stock markets of most countries combined. Reason number 7. Wall Street didn't just become America's financial center, it became the world's. Global companies list their stock in New York. Global investors park their money in American markets. When something happens on Wall Street, the entire planet feels it the next morning. This is financial gravity, and everything orbits around it. America also built the most powerful military in human history, not just for defense, but to protect global trade routes, oil supplies, and its own economic interests. A stable, American-patrolled global order meant that trade could flow safely, and safety, it turns out, is extremely profitable. Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Princeton, American universities became magnets for the world's brightest students. Many stayed after graduating, starting companies, filing patents, and building the next generation of American wealth. Education wasn't just about knowledge. It became a wealth-generating machine. Reason number 8. Americans buy. A lot. The American consumer alone drives a massive share of global economic demand. Companies across the entire world design products specifically for American shoppers. This constant, enormous appetite for goods and services keeps money circulating faster than almost anywhere else on Earth. Here's something surprising. America owes trillions of dollars in debt, and yet remains the richest country. Why? Because as the world's reserve currency issuer, America can borrow in its own money, something almost no other country can safely do. What would bankrupt another nation simply fuels America's continued growth. But this story isn't a fairy tale. Inequality has grown sharply. Manufacturing jobs have vanished overseas. National debt continues to climb. China is closing the gap faster than anyone predicted. America's throne is real, but it isn't guaranteed forever. So why hasn't any other country replaced America? Because wealth like this isn't built in a decade. It's built over centuries of geography, immigration, war, innovation, and financial dominance stacking on top of each other. Copying one piece isn't enough. You'd need to copy the entire 200-year formula. America's wealth was never just about money. It was about being in the right place, at the right time, with the right systems, again and again and again. 2 world wars that spared its land. A currency the whole world depends on. A culture obsessed with invention. That combination has never existed anywhere else in history. So the next time you hold a dollar bill, remember, you're holding 200 years of war, ambition, migration, and reinvention in your hand. America didn't just become rich by accident. It engineered it, piece by piece. Whether that dominance lasts another century is a question only time will answer. If this story opened your eyes, hit subscribe, because next week, we uncover the country that could dethrone America, and you will not see it coming.